I will teach you the right way to live. I will be your guide, and I will take care of you. Psalm 32 verse 8. Hello, welcome to Live, Love and Laugh with Tosin. Wow. Thank you all for your love and all your support on my last video. Thank you for the amazing comments. I enjoyed reading from you. It means a lot to me. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria, and I film about living, loving, and laughing. And yes, my name is Tosin. So guys, I was clearing out my wardrobe earlier in the week and I stumbled on an old journal, and as I was flipping through that journal, I kept looking at the door to make sure that no one walks in, because the things in that journal are for my eyes and my eyes alone. But really, the part that got me laughing were the parts where I talked about my expectations and my fantasies about marriage, you know, and it's not that all of them has not come to pass. It's just that some of those things seemed a bit unrealistic, but what do I know? I wasn't married. You sometimes don't really understand some of those things until you really get married. So I was like, I need to tell my YouTube family and share some of the truths that they never really tell you before you get married. I've been married for 5 years and I am not a life coach. I am not a counselor. I'm just sharing personal experiences and experiences of others, you know, around me, and I hope that you find this very relevant, single or married. This is that time where you get your popcorn and your shawarma and your eba and your egusi as we get right into this video. You know how you always think that marriage is 50-50, and for the longest that was the concept that I knew. The marriage is 50-50. My husband or your spouse will bring 50 and you'll bring 50 and you'll make 100. Not quite so. I think the reality in marriage is that marriage is 100-100, because the concept of 50-50 presupposes that, you know, if you love me, I will love you. If you don't love me, I will not love you, you know, and it's somewhat conditional, and that means if someone is bringing 30 and someone is bringing 50, you will never make it 100. So that kind of means that the marriage will never work. No, it has to be 100-100. You've got to bring your all, and I have got to bring my all. So 100% commitment. So you are determined to make marriage work. Because sometimes the competing priorities are maybe your work, your job. So you're giving 80% and you're giving 20% to, you know, something else that you're passionate about. The other party is feeling like, who told you I don't have things I'm passionate about? Who told you I also don't want to go and do my PhD? Who told you that? You know, everyone feels, or both parties will feel like, I've given up a lot, you know, to be in this marriage, and I am giving you my 100. And the expectation is that you also bring your 100. You know, all your life, you just expect that when you marry, because you waited for this, right? So you're like, when I get married, my spouse would get me, you know, because we are soulmates, we have like a soul tie, we would always understand each other's vibe. Like, you know, you expect that sometimes we may even yawn together, like, you're also yawning, you know, or we will be so in sync that we can almost read each other's mind. While that is somewhat true, the reality is that you always have to communicate your wants, your desires, your expectations. You need to let the other person understand what makes you tick. I like this, I don't like this. You need to be vocal about what you really want. We women are guilty of this. We just assume that he would understand. So I'll use myself as an example. Very early into my marriage, when it's my birthday or Valentine's Day and my husband goes like, baby, what do you want for Valentine's Day? What do you want for your birthday? I just go like, Nothing. I'm okay. I gave him the impression that it was not a big deal. I would never really come to terms with saying that I want a perfume, or I want, a bag, or I want to buy a phone. I won't just say it. And the assumption for me was that I expected him to know. I'm like, we're soulmates. I don't need to tell you what I want. But I also wanted him to surprise me, like, surprise me. But guess what? For many of those times, I got the shock of my life because my husband bought a Yoruba girl flower. How do you buy a Yoruba girl flower? Now, I have learned that I need to be specific about what I want. We're 5 years, in marriage now. I no longer let him assume. I tell him, babe, I want money. Like the last Valentine's Day, baby, what do you want for Valentine's? I said, give me the money. And he just put the money, cash, in an envelope and with a card, and happy Valentine's Day. And I'm happy and he is happy. So it would be unfair to always assume that our partner will be able to read our mind and will know everything that we want even before we say it. You need to be clear so that you both can be happy. You will be in for a shocker if you, for any second, believe that your husband or your spouse will be able to meet all your relational needs. So from affection to attention to acceptance to encouragement to support to comfort to understanding. Wow. Sometimes they can't be all of those things. We have to be realistic. And if you are not realistic, you will put a lot of pressure on your marriage and you will find that your spouse will just be failing. If you set like 10 traps for him, he will fail 9 times because he can't be all of that to you. So your spouse may not be able to meet all of your relational needs, sometimes for good reason. I'll give an example of understanding. Sometimes you say it's like you're expecting that as you're saying it because it's your spouse, he gets it, he understands, but sometimes he genuinely doesn't understand, or he has an opposing view, or he doesn't quite agree, and immediately you feel like this guy is my enemy. Like, if you don't agree with me, who will agree with me? I expect you to agree with me. Your spouse may not be able to meet all of your relational needs. Very related to that is also that your spouse is not the source of your happiness. Wow. That was a shocker. I'm a Christian and I believe strongly that God put a void in our hearts that only Him can fill. Like, God is your only source of happiness, if you get what I mean. I'm not saying that your spouse should be doing things to make you unhappy, or I'm not saying that your spouse will never make you happy. I'm just saying that it's not practicable that your spouse will always make you happy. Sometimes it is important for you to learn what it takes to make yourself happy and not allowing everything that they do get to you. Your spouse will definitely have a lot of power over you. You guys live together, you are bonded together, you have a covenant in marriage, and all of those things. But you must know what it takes to get yourself excited by yourself. And the truth is, sometimes they are not happy. And someone that is not happy cannot give you what they don't have. So your spouse cannot make you happy every time. You need to learn what it takes to be happy. And I think an extra point to that is, that's why it's important that before you get married, you have your purpose, you find yourself, you find what makes you happy, because you will still need all of those components even in marriage. So when your spouse, because he's found his purpose, is going about his purpose, you can also go about yours and not feel like, why is this guy doing his work? What do I do? No, you can't go into marriage empty. You need to go with something inclusive of your purpose and everything that can also make you happy. You know that thing where you assume that because you are the woman, when you get married, you assume certain roles, and some of these roles are traditional. So for example, you assume that as a woman, the living room will be yours, the kitchen will be yours, no one will be competing. I'm going to design my living room the way I want it, I'm going to design my kitchen the way I want it. Hey, don't give yourself roles that they did not give you. You need to be sure what the expectations of your spouse is. It could take a bit of getting used to for them to just realize that, okay, there is a woman in the house. So that's why it's important to just communicate and not assume that certain things are automatically your role as women. Your spouse may just be more interested and more invested, in certain things, or have strong opinions about certain things that should primarily have been your role. And for me, I had to come to terms with the fact that my husband is actually better when it comes to designing and, you know, being creative with spaces. And this is shocking for someone like me that I do a lot of interior stuff. One of my business caters to curtains and all that. So I thought that I was good, but it was better. And I needed to recognize that. So after the things that you will see in my living room, from the ideas, I mean, it runs it by me, but because it was the living room did not automatically mean that it was my job. We had to agree who does what and how. Okay, another one would have to be that, you know, we are married, so the families are one. My husband's family is my family. You know, my family is his family. That's a good way to look at it, and that's a good way to keep it. But the truth is, not everything in your spouse's family would be your business. You need to know where to draw the line. You need to know where to draw the line. And this comes to a lot of us as a shock, because our expectation is that, what are they hiding? Are we not married? You know, why is he not telling me this? I mean, sometimes he even just got off a call, you know, probably resolving an argument. It's not your business. You know, you need to just know how to conserve your energy for your nuclear family. I mean, it doesn't mean you're not happy for them. It just means that you may not know everything, and that everything that happens in their family is not your business. Sometimes you may also not know all of these things in 5 years or in 10 years. You may know it by observation. So you don't always have to interfere where you are not wanted. Not everything is a talking point. Child, this was hard for me, because you would find that some things are revealed for your information. So God just gives you a glimpse into a potential issue. It is not for you to now escalate it and just be like, oh yes, we need to talk about it. I don't like what I just saw. Some things you see it and you go back to your closet and pray about it. Or you save the conversation for another day. Not everything requires an immediate reaction, and not everything is a talking point. Okay, hey, this one, I always thought that maybe at some point my spouse will be like me. You know, maybe we will start to like the same things, and that was a shock, because I realized that we may retain our individualities and our personalities and our preferences almost forever. Yes, some things you become more similar, but there are some things you would not be able to change. And I think that that's why they say to single people, if it is a deal breaker, because it may not change. For example, my husband doesn't like social media. He does not. For me to get him to do a challenge, whether coupe or Bob Daddy or Don't Rush, I have to beg the gods before I now go and table it. And still, it's not every time he says yes. And it doesn't make him a bad person. That is his person. And it doesn't make me a bad person too, because I like some of those things. I just thought it was cool, you know. But what I'm just saying is, you may never really become the same people. You may retain your individualities. For example, with movies, myself and my husband, we don't like the same kind of movies. I love romance. Yeah, I love romance. I love family movies. I love you know, movies about black people, injustice, you know, all of those things. Those are not my husband's kinds of movies. So understanding is knowing that sometimes he will watch his own movie and I will watch my own, because I mean, sometimes we find movies of common interest, you know, and then we sit around to watch it. But because we've been married for 5 years doesn't mean that we will start to like the same things. It's so important, you know, to understand that some things will not change. So if you're not comfortable with the person's personality, preferences, you know, interest and passion, I think that you may need to reconsider. Your spouse may never become like you, and vice versa, and it is okay to be different. You know, I think it actually makes the relationship more interesting, and it doesn't mean that your relationship is not healthy. It's okay, guys. Things may change. For me and my husband, I think we spoke about many of the things that spouses should speak about before marriage. So say from third party interference, to how many children we would have, to being open about our finances. Those things were not a bother. We spoke about them, but some things really does change. No one goes into a marriage thinking that maybe, for example, the spouse will have a health challenge, or the spouse will have an accident, or the spouse will lose their job. You really don't have everything figured out from the outside, but as you get in, things may change. And this is where it is so important to be flexible. It is so important to never say never. I mean, I understand that there are some things that you are so sure, like never, ever, ever, ever. But there are some things that you would have to wait and see how things pan out and then react accordingly. You would have to make compromises in marriage, whether as the woman or as the man. You would have to trade off some things for some things to happen. My husband would normally say, for every man, it is either you are right or happy. You can't be right and be happy. And this is based on the premise that if you want to be right as a man, you will not be happy, because sometimes what makes you right would make madam unhappy, and for that reason you will lose your happiness because she will frustrate your life. When you get married, you just assume that there's nothing like privacy. We are one. What are you hiding? Privacy is so important, in marriage, because we are, a couple. We are married, but we are also individuals. Like I said, we have our preferences, and sometimes we just want our personal space. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. But if you go into the marriage thinking that there will be nothing like privacy, you'll be in for a shocker, because you'll get resisted by your spouse saying, you know what, you are all over me, you are not giving me a chance to be me. And this privacy is not even just about physical space. It affects things, like finances, and purpose and all of that, because sometimes people want to be their own person. So yes, you are married, she is your wife, you are my husband, but I still want to be my own woman. Not in a way that undermines our relationship, but in a way that makes me happy. Because yes, we are married, but I have my own purpose, I have my own individual calling, and on the last day, I'm going to stand in front of Master Jesus first as an individual. Even in the area of finances, as a woman or as a man, people want to have their own. So say, for example, in my family, we have a joint account. Yes, we do. But in like the first year of my marriage, my husband did something that really shocked me. Even though we put all the resources together that time, he told me, you know what, you need to have your own salary. So he started paying me my own salary from the finances, and those salaries are not to be questioned. It doesn't care what I do with it. So at that point, I could decide that, you know what, I want to give my sister money, or I want to give the needy, or I want to do whatever that I wanted. But it would have been so strenuous if it was just the joint account, because I needed to check with him every time, and that was not life for me before marriage. I could make my own decisions, even though we still do things jointly, we can still individually say, okay, I still want to do X, Y, Z. The last point will be that it would happen that sometimes you may go to bed with unresolved issues. I don't know if I've met any married couple who has gone to bed happy without unresolved issues every day of their 10 years or 20 years or however long they've been married. Sometimes some issues have required a different timing, and it didn't have to be resolved that night, because attempting to want to resolve it that night sometimes may escalate issues beyond control. That's why if you watch an Hollywood movie, you find you are not going to go. We will talk about it. We will discuss it, and you're dragging the man to have a conversation when they are not ready, or you're dragging your wife, or you just want to have a conversation when sometimes both parties are tensed. So the reality is that some issues may need to wait till the next morning or another day or a better time. So wisdom just helps you know that, hey, this explanation you have given me is not okay, but we are going to revisit this issue. So guys, I just wanted to share that with my YouTube family, and I cannot wait to read your own comments about those truths, you know, that you've come to find in marriage, or some of those interesting things that you are also writing in your journal, and as you were watching this video you were like, hey, should I cancel it? You know, you won't have to cancel it. You're going to have a beautiful marriage, but just keep an open mind and just be positive minded, because marriage is really a beautiful thing. Thank you all for watching this video. Guess what, guys? We have our giveaway winners. Okay, I'm so excited. So OMOBOLANLE JEGEDE, she's won the skipping rope. Jessica Maria has won the 15 gig worth of data, and I would also be giving 5 gig worth of data each to KOLAWOLE and Fumnaya. Just because everyone needs data, right? Data is life, and it's data you're using to watch this video. So thank you for entering for the giveaway. There will be loads and loads of other giveaways on this channel. Don't forget to like this video, to comment, and to subscribe if you've not already done so. Till I come your way again, remember to live, to love, and to laugh. Bye for now.